Welcome to the Tesla Economist. Please hit the thumbs up and remember to subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon. That's right, the new Model Y from Austin is now for sale to the public. But firstly, I better at least add the caveat that it would appear this is just for people in the Austin area. An email appears to be sent out to customers with an order for Model Y, informing them that they can receive their new Model Y much sooner, within weeks even. And Tesla confirmed the specifications we were already led to believe. There also appear to be some for sale. Now I think that the base price appears to be $59,990. Wow, great psychological pricing, keeping it under that threshold. Possibly a good price point to be under to increase likelihood of hitting any potential tax credits too. One of the models has an upgraded blue paint at an additional $1,000, so does another, but also with a tow bar for a further $1,000 again, and one other base version with 20-inch induction wheels at an extra $2,000. They also come with a full year of premium connectivity. This would likely imply that the Model Y all-wheel drive that we saw at the Cyber Rodeo, that was sold to employees and all other occasions, is the same version that we sold to the public from Texas. My belief is that this model was the intended variant of Model Y Tesla planned on making, although it was unexpected. And you can actually even hear me predicting in some of my videos last year about a potential medium-range version Model Y coming out with under 300 miles of range, kind of like this one. I think Tesla had to increase the price of the 4680 Model Y over the 2170 version, as it is a vastly superior vehicle. However, if they did that with a long range, then you're at a price point in excess of $70,000, maybe even higher. Just think about a long-range Model Y 4680, likely with something like 350 miles of range. It would have been a spectacular vehicle, no doubt, but when you start getting $10,000 or even $15,000 higher, when you're already at a $60,000 price point, you're going to lose a lot of demand. It doesn't matter how good some things are if people can't afford them. Tesla had to price this vehicle right. It's going to be their biggest selling, so they need it to still be a low enough price for the mass market. Therefore, they cut back on range and battery sales in order to find the sweet spot. A Model Y with sufficient range and all the improved features, yet at a similar price point as the Model Y long range. They also kept the all-wheel drive drivetrain, unlike other standard range versions. Now bear in mind, this vehicle is absolutely full of margin. When the 4680 line is ramped up, this has to be in excess of 40% margin vehicle, even more if you add FSD on top of that again. Some people think that Tesla went with a standard range in order to make more units so the batteries go further. Now, I'm not disputing that is definitely one of the advantages of a smaller battery pack, but I don't think it was the reason. I think Tesla worked out all the sweet spots. What's the least amount of range you can offer until it starts to deter too many customers? What price point can you sell it at before it starts to deter too many consumers? And how much performance do people really need? You factor in all of those and you're at a Model Y at around $60,000 with 280 miles of range and 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. There aren't many ICE crossover SUVs that could do 0 to 60 that quick. I'm willing to bet possibly none for less than $60,000. The all-wheel drive is a major factor, as Tesla probably had to sacrifice about 30 miles of range for the additional drivetrain, but it's clearly a feature important to Tesla's customers. Although it's possible Tesla may also end up selling a rear-wheel drive version from here too. Tesla have done their research, but even if they're slightly wrong, well, Tesla seem to have no qualms in adjusting prices anyway. If there isn't enough demand, Tesla can reduce prices and have a huge buffer of profit margin in order to do so. We don't even officially know the battery size of this car yet. It would seem though that the consensus is in agreement with me for once, and that the EPA data does seem to be somewhat manipulated. However, the fact that the battery will be smaller than the long range will save in costs significantly. I would say the cost saving in using fewer batteries alone is about the same as the price difference between the long range and Austin version. Then you add the cost saving of the 4680 structural and all the rest, and it just all goes into extra gross profit when compared to the Fremont versions. I basically have a theory that this is a much lower cost vehicle than the Model Y version, possibly even further than we think. I think there's at least an additional $5,000 more gross profit selling one of these, even at a lower cost than a long range, with more savings to come over time. Last year, we were wondering how Tesla were going to incorporate their brand new product into their existing mix, the 4680 Model Y. And since then, more things have become apparent. They appear to be adding it into the mix very slowly, first to employees, then to Austin locals. Perhaps next it will be offered to anyone in Texas, before eventually going nationwide. A way to sell these new Model Ys without affecting the existing product mix overly. These new Model Ys are still in short supply, so selling them to just a small targeted market for now is actually quite clever. It also saves cost on delivering local. The Austin vehicles that are being produced, I think in the region of around 150 a day I read somewhere recently, but couldn't find that source again. Well, these are most likely being built with 4680 cells coming from the Kato Rd facility. Don't forget, Tesla do have the Kato Rd cell production there. It's not huge, but it will end up having a capacity in the region of about half of what Giga Nevada can produce, which isn't nothing. Perhaps enough for 300,000 vehicles a year. You know, potentially a few extra $1 billion of profit. This will allow Tesla to keep refining the Texas 4680 line whilst producing vehicles at the same time. Tesla still have yet to add the model variant specs to the website. I think there should be an event when this vehicle officially launches. Surely Elon would like to be the one to introduce this car to us. He built the car with his dream engineering that he's wanted to achieve for so long. He must be elated to have pulled it off finally. Surely after all this, the specs won't just be added to the website in some cavalier fashion. I mean, the build-up and intensity to the possibility of finding out these specifications was almost too much for me. I'm not sure I want to go through it all again with any potential event this could be announced. Although Tesla are going to be selling to the public, at least in Austin, they're still not disclosing the full specs. Maybe they won't even for some time, and will continue to sell without mentioning these full specs. However, once it's in the public's hands, we can expect teardowns, weight figures, and battery size calculations that will quickly give us a good idea of how much progress the 4680 has made, along with hopefully many great car reviews. The email does say weeks until they're delivered, so perhaps by then Tesla would have officially launched the new Model Y in their own way. And this is the point at which we discover how truly good electric cars will be. I don't think it's likely to see another mass-produced battery with this much energy density, aside from the future evolution of the 4680 itself, at least not in this decade. Anyway, my point here is if such a launch event was to occur, then it should be within a few weeks. I guess Kato Rd is still testing and ramping up, and they're using those cells to practice production on the new line. If this is a way to judge the rate at which Kato Rd are ramping, then it might be a good indicator. Perhaps it's enough for 150 vehicles a day this month, but 300 a day next month, implying 100% ramping up month over month. Of course, that's just the Kato Rd facility. We're expecting Texas to be about 10 times that. They have to reach 715 vehicles a day for volume production, and probably just around 400 a day just to break even. But yeah, I think paying attention to the rate at which cars are coming out of Texas is probably the most indicating factor as to the level of progress we're seeing. Also, maybe when they start expanding the markets, maybe just Austin first, then all of Texas and nearby states, it might be another indication as to the pace at which they're moving. This also likely means we have to wear all the cost of Austin in the financials if they're selling cars, which I'm still wondering how to factor in. I assume we have to count in the costs of Texas for just about the entire quarter if Tesla were delivering cars to employees and now selling to the public. But working out how to calculate those costs is a problem for future me. It would appear that we are all in consensus that the most important factor for the future of this company at the moment is the 4680 cells. So seeing any related update is always good, although I'm not entirely sure there's a whole lot more news here. Hopefully these cars will get to the public soon, and it won't be long until we get some reviews, or Tesla announce it to us in their own way. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.